Good afternoon. Perhaps if you're in the Pacific time zone, it is still the morning there. I'm Rod Lidke. I'm the CEO of CS Week, and I'd like to welcome you to our second Tuesday webinar series. These occur on the second Tuesday of the month at this time. I'd like to thank Tata Consultancy Services for sponsoring this webinar series for the next number of months. This series is really the best sessions from the CS Week this past May, and that best is judged based upon your input, based upon the survey data that you provide us. And so in that sense, this is a great session. This one actually scored in a tie for second place, and it's entitled Engagement, Empowerment, Efficiency, a Demand-Side Strategy for an Energy Smart Customer. You probably noticed in the slides that we're rolling before we started, but we do have CS Week this forthcoming April 29 through May 3, and we will be in the Tampa Convention Center at that time. You saw that one of our slides were on all of the social media connections, so you can connect with us in any of those, any or all of those fashions. We have a slide in there now that we've announced our keynote speaker, Dr. Robert Ballard. You can see on that slide he's the chairman of the JASON project. You perhaps remember him better as the fellow and his company that found the Titanic. So I'm looking forward to hearing his presentation at CS Week next year. We've also announced the car that we will give away next year, which is this little sporty, I guess you pronounce this Scion FRS. Another reminder is Expanding Excellence Awards. It is time to start thinking about your projects at your utilities, what you have done over the last year and a half, and what you might want to submit for an award. Those categories are listed there. And on one of the slides, we did have prospectively our next couple of webinar series. But if any time if you're wondering what the next ones are, you can simply go to our website and determine what will be next. So as we go through this session today, and Rebecca will be presenting, at any time during the session today, if you would like to pose a question, please type it into that Q&A box that's in the lower right corner of your screen. We will hold all those questions till the end, and I will ask those questions of Rebecca at that time. One other thing is that this session is being recorded and will be available for playback on our website. So perhaps you wish to have one of your colleagues listen to this webinar, listen and watch this webinar sometime in the future. They can do so by going to our website. So by now all of you have noticed the first slide is our presenter today, Rebecca Meyer. And you also are thinking, well, she's with Connecticut Light and Power, Yankee Gas, and that I'm sure Rebecca will tell you that they've gone through just a substantial amount of bad weather over the past few weeks, and we're happy that she's doing as well as she is and can be with us today. We're obviously a little concerned at one point. But to tell you about Rebecca, she is a Senior Program Administrator at Connecticut Light and Power. She manages energy educational programs and customer outreach initiatives, including EE Smarts, a K-12 learning initiative, museum exhibit development, and clean energy communities. She is co-manager of the Home Energy Reports Pilot, a 2011 customer engagement initiative. She has a bachelor's degree in political science from North Carolina State and a master's degree in environmental and natural resources policy from George Washington University. So on that point, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Rebecca. Go right ahead, Rebecca.
Okay. Good afternoon. The Energy Smart customer, when I was trying to think about setting up this presentation back in April for the conference, I was really trying to think of what creates an Energy Smart customer. And going back to my EE Smarts program, K through 12, we usually focus in on the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. And I thought it made sense to go back to this E cubed feeling here where we really focused in on engagement, which is just really getting the customer's attention. How do we get them to notice the program or the initiative that we're trying to drive them toward? The second E is empowerment. once we got their attention, we need to actually have them do something, to take action, such as calling, emailing, going online, signing up for programs. And then the third, which is really important for my department, which is the Energy Efficiency Department, Northeast Utilities, is getting them to take that engagement and empowerment and getting them to use less, to be more efficient. And that's a result of those first two E's, is getting them engaged and empowered. So just to kind of give you a background for what CL&P has done to do some customer engagement, back in 2009, 2010, we had a Planet-Wise energy program, which tested dynamic pricing and advanced metering infrastructure. And from that, there was a piece of it where we really wanted to learn a little bit more about information-based energy efficiency. If a customer, just instead of just responding just to pricing or just different other mechanisms, just being told, this is how much energy you're using, and this is in comparison to other customers, just to see if that actually made a difference as well for customers. So we launched this back in late January 2011. Originally, it was for 24,000 customers only. Connecticut Light and Power has about a 1.2 million customer base. Of that, about 900,000 are residential. The customers that we selected for the pilot were electric only. And the initial plan was for only a one-year pilot. Due to the first year's success, we actually extended that pilot for an additional year. And we currently have year 2 proceeding, which will end in August 2013. So I'll give you a little bit of an update there because I did not have that information back in April. Our partners are, of course, Powr is the company that provides our neighbor comparisons, but also everything that I work on for the Energy Efficiency Department is funded for by Connecticut electric and natural gas utility ratepayers through the Energy Efficiency Fund. And that's done underneath this marketing initiative you see on the bottom of the screen, Energize Connecticut. So CL&P's energy-savvy customers use the 3 E's for our pilot: engagement, empowerment, and efficiency, to save nearly 7 gigawatt hours in the pilot year alone. We're actually compiling the rest of the information as we speak to try to figure out how much in addition we've gained over the last 4 to 6 months. The results, really what we did before we even launched the pilot was establish several success criteria, and then that's how we were going to judge exactly the success of the program. So, and we achieved our objectives. We achieved overall savings of 1.6%. We created positive interactions with our customers. We tracked actions resulting in energy consumption change, which is really important for us. We do a lot of lecture series as part of my Energy Efficiency Department, where we go out and remind people to turn off lights and turn off TVs when they're not using them, and to actually be able to see if anybody took our advice is a little empowering, and at least makes you feel like you're just not, customers aren't really getting the message from you. And one of the other key results was that we use the pilot as a marketing tool. So perhaps maybe we wouldn't see energy savings from just this pilot alone, but perhaps we could encourage participation in some of our other energy efficiency programs in our portfolio. So the purpose of this pilot was simple. We wanted to determine if CL&P customers conserved, and if so, how much. If their energy consumption was compared to their neighbors, sort of a keeping up with the Joneses mentality, as you can see in the picture at the bottom. And what we wanted to do was to send them out information. This is how you're doing compared to your neighbor. And this is something we get asked a lot, especially I'm out in the field a lot through my Clean Energy Communities program, and people don't really understand. I use 800 kilowatt hours a month. What does that mean? How does that compare to my neighbor down the street? And this gives our customers the tool to see 800 kilowatts is actually pretty good, or the 2,000 that you're using is a little bit, is a lot, but maybe it's because you have a pool or something else that we didn't take into consideration. A lot of people usually ask, first thing is, who are the neighbors? And they're not necessarily the person right across the street, so everybody who calls tends to think that it is the old woman across the street. There are 100 similarly sized homes. Usually they typically heat with the same source. Here in Connecticut, 60% of our homes are heated with oil, which I know is very different from any other utilities across the country. The neighbors are also usually 95% of the homes that you're compared to are within 2 miles as well. So that's just to kind of give you a sense of who we're comparing all of our customers to. Right up front, we established an experimental design for the pilot to help not only CL&P personnel, but also our board, our Energy Efficiency Board, to evaluate the effectiveness of the reports. Then we have an evaluation study that is spanning not only the year 1 pilot, but going into year 2 as well to determine the effectiveness of sending out information-based energy efficiency reports. You can see here we took 300,000 of our customers' information, energy usage, and we created a control group of 24,000 and a test group of 24,000 as well. Each of them were randomly statistically equivalent. And for the control group, very simply, we just didn't send reports to them. And for the test group, we did send reports. I'll get into some of the duration and frequency of those reports in a second. And what we do is we compare the results between those who received reports and those who didn't, and we can definitely see the energy savings from there. So that's how we can determine the effectiveness of the pilot. So we designed the pilot to test the conservation impacts of both channel, reporting frequency, and if energy savings persisted. This is definitely something with behavior pilots that you want to see, is whether or not the energy savings persist over time, so you don't have to continually pay for these reports to get sent out, because they do cost a little bit. So what we did was we designed for the 24,000 customers who did receive reports, 10,000 of those received those reports on a monthly basis for the entire year. 10,000 received them on a quarterly basis. And we kept 4,000 that we reserved as persistence. So those customers for the first 6 to 8 months received monthly reports, and then we essentially just dropped them from the pilot. And we wanted to see whether or not for the rest of the pilot year, if because they received those reports in the beginning of the year, if they continued to save. And we also, as I had said before, we had the 24,000 customers in our control group. So we had strong customer engagement metrics, and we found this just very positive just from a corporate perspective. 6% of the participants that we sent out reports to called our dedicated hotline. 1% of customers used email as their communication channel, which was actually more than we anticipated. And a lot of those ranged, those questions that came in both on the hotline and on the emails ranged from in-depth sophisticated questions, really getting into the engineering of different systems, to just asking technical assistance with getting web access or wanting to know who their neighbors are. And we also saw nearly 2.5% of our customers create online accounts, which I'll get into a little bit from there, but that actually not only shows their engagement, but also improves their efficiency and their participation in programs as well. So launching back in late January 2011, you can see here on this chart that the savings progressively rose through the summer and beyond. We had overall savings of 1.6%. And you'll note at the bottom there, we show all the different types of reports getting sent out across the months. And you can see in February, May, August, November, where our customers who were part of the quarterly group received their reports too. As you can anticipate, with the summer savings, those definitely increased during the summertime due to air conditioning reductions, and that maxed out about 2.2% in September as well. You can also see a slight increase, which is something we found just interesting from a Connecticut perspective. You saw a slight increase in some energy savings in December as well, and that's because we had about 6,000 customers in the pilot who actually heat with electric. So you actually got to see a little bit of the heat savings as well. So total pilot savings, once again, was 7 gigawatt hours. If you want to take that from a household perspective, that's about 251 kilowatt hours savings per household. The typical savings, as I said before, came during the summer months for air conditioning. And you will note also, just as I referenced before, in December, that you do see a slight increase in savings there as well, and that would be directly attributed to the 6,600 electric heat customers too. So this is just a chart just to kind of show you, we felt that our pilot was definitely, we definitely got our customers engaged through different channels. And this is just comparing us to another investor-owned utility pilot launch at the same time, just showing the energy savings per month and how CL&P really ramped up very quickly to capture those energy savings for our customers. So, you know, what's the most important thing, what motivates customers? And it's definitely money, so definitely showing the positive attributes for how much energy, how much monetary savings customers realized. Our pilot helped the 24,000 customers save more than $900,000 on their electric bills. And definitely the pilot households were on pace to save approximately 300 kilowatt hours per household in annual savings. And taking the 21 cents per kilowatt hour that CL&P customers pay, that's about $63 savings on average for each customer is about $63. So, you know, that's not too shabby. So, you know, we definitely heard a lot of good feedback from, you know, just by simply turning off the lights and turning off the TV, you can actually see dollar savings. As I said before, our pilot customers were definitely engaged. They definitely preferred calling the dedicated CSR pilot hotline that we established right at the beginning of the pilot. 6% of our customers called, 1,448 calls. This was far more than project management and even our partner Powr anticipated. As you can guess, the highest number of our calls came right at the launch of the pilot with questions about what is this, who are my neighbors, the profile in on the web, or how you compare me, you know, isn't correct, or I think you may need to update different aspects as well. Fortunately, right before we launched the pilot, we led 2 one-day sessions with about 65 CSRs and supervisors going over the pilot, the purpose, how to use our CSR tool that Powr provides, and also providing them plenty of support and backup. We did see a slight, you know, as you can see, the highest number of calls did come at the beginning of the launch, and then you know, they kind of decreased towards the end, and we saw a slight pickup again in December and January. And once again, a lot of those calls we can actually attribute to electric heat customers who, you know, right around Thanksgiving turned that electric baseboard heat back on and suddenly noticed a difference in their ranking with their neighbors. So we definitely saw a little bit of an increase right there in the wintertime as well. So about 50% of the 1,400 calls were positive, and 15% asked about other energy efficiency programs and ways to save. On each one of the reports that customers receive on the back, there are 3 tips that are customized for that customer regarding, you know, buying new lights, turning off computers, etc. And they liked those tips, but they wanted to really dive in and see how much more they could save, and some really got into the competition piece. So we really found that encouraging as well. So we definitely promoted our energy efficiency programs. 24% called to update their profile, square footage. We may have just been off a little bit. There were several instances where some homeowners had not told their town that they had done some renovations, so we were off about 400, 500 square feet. And we never go back and report to towns if if the customer does call in regarding that. We also updated the heating type. And this was definitely a lessons learned. I think this is important for any utility looking at doing this. Connecticut, we have 169 towns, and coming from a coming from North Carolina. I call them fiefdoms. I'm used to working on the county level. And this really provides varying availability of demographic data. So some towns we were able to get the square footage and heating type, and others not. So as part of that, we heard a lot of feedback right at the beginning of the pilot that the electric heat customers were concerned about us comparing them correctly, and we were able to go in and work with Powr to update that demographic data, make sure the electric heat customers were being compared accurately. And not only did we go in and ensure that everything was correct, but we also sent out a postcard to all of our electric heat customers noting their concern that they had called in and acknowledging that we had fixed the slight error there, which was unfortunately comparing them to some of the oil and propane heat customers in Connecticut. And then you can see some of the other pieces here, negative feedback, about 12%. Neighbor comparisons, 20%. Those questions can range from who are my neighbors, you know, all the way down to, you know, I don't think you're comparing me correctly. About 19% wanted to called in to opt out. That doesn't mean that all 19% that called in to opt out ended up. The way we categorize this is the reason for their call. And I think this is another lessons learned, and one thing that we really find valuable is our customer experience team was incredible, really answering the calls from the customers, addressing their concerns, and you know, convincing a couple of them that, you know, rather than just opting out, that this is really a tool to engage them, and then therefore that they could take these reports, maybe see how they do for the next month or two, maybe take some of the tips, advice, and then see how they compare. And we did receive some follow-up calls as well where they did improve, and then others may have not. But you know, definitely just keeping people from just opting out immediately and talking to them was a very crucial tool in us keeping the opt-out rate low. And we really treated each call as an opportunity to engage the customer. So if they had questions about our behavior pilot, we answered them, but each one, having the calls go straight into our CSR center up in Windsor, Connecticut, helped if they had other questions regarding their bills or testing their meters, or even other questions about choosing an electric supplier. Those CSRs were also able to answer their questions and address them immediately as well. So we did test some additional engagement tactics to really try to get customers motivated rather than just sending the reports alone. We actually started sending email reports out in August 2011 to about 1,700 of our customers who we had emails on file for, who were participants in the pilot, and that's about 7% of our participant pool. We also sent out an online engagement postcard in September 2011, really, and you can see that there, where we just are asking them, are we comparing you correctly? Here's some great, you know, ways you can go online, make sure that your profile is accurate, but you can also set, you know, a benchmark for, you know, maybe reducing your energy consumption by 5% over the next 3 months. And we felt that was really important. And we, you know, with our launch of year 2, we did send an engagement postcard that mimicked the same look and feel to some of our returning customers in year 2, and then we're also going to be sending out the same postcard to motivate customers to create web accounts as well in year 2. CL&P's online engagement has grown to become a leader in Powr's utility web portals, and we're really proud of that. There were, just in the year 1 alone, 2.4% of our customers, or 570 customers, actually went online and created web accounts. Now, these customers, the 24,000, they receive reports no matter what, but these 570, you know, actually went online, created an account, you know, went through the tips, created their own energy benchmarking or, you know, kind of personal goals, commitments, and we really felt that this was important to really engage our customers. The average for Powr, just so everybody can get a sense, is about 1.1%, so at 2.4%, you know, we definitely were above the average. We had over 41% multiple login rate, which is also important. They're not just going on once, they're going in multiple times as well, which is 8% above the average for an Powr utility pilot. And as part of our engagement postcard and sending out the reports, we felt that this was a valuable customer engagement lessons learned. By really just sending those out in August and September, we had over 131 accounts created in just that month alone, which, was kind of needed if, as you're looking and right there at the beginning of the launch, you have tons of new accounts. Right towards August and September, customers, it's no longer new, so you really just kind of have to kind of jump up and down and try to get their attention, which is the whole purpose of customer engagement. So we were really proud that the reports and postcard were able to do that. And as you can see there, the importance with email reports is 7% of our customers receiving the email reports, 84 immediately as soon as we started sending them out. We had over 84 visits, and they visited about 8.4 pages per visit, and stayed online for about 5.8 minutes, which, for any of us who surf the web at night, staying on any web page longer than 1 or 2 minutes for me is definitely a lot. So, definitely having about 6 minutes per visit, they're really becoming engaged and taking a look at all the different metrics and all the different tips and tools. And we had about 3,900 interactive tip clicks as well. And we really, just to reinforce the email reports, we really felt that this unlocked the power of our web engagement. Just sending out those emails that really encourages someone to say, well, let me take a look at this. Customers see, they might get it in the mail, they might take a look at it real quick, but, they may not follow up on a tip that's on the back of a printed report. Whereas if you're checking your email on your iPhone, and you say, well, you know what, I'm going to check this out, and you click on one of the tips, and it takes you immediately to a site where it says, here you can buy these CFLs for this price, and and it's really simple and easy to do. I mean, that's what customers are looking for, and it's a way to grab their attention. I always call it, being a mom of two, you have to get my attention very quickly in about a minute. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next priority or the next letter or email as well. And so we really felt the emails really helped drive our web engagement as well. And that's just reinforced about CL&P email recipients were about 4.5 times more likely to create a web account. So another way that we had customers engage with us if they didn't feel like picking up the phone and talking to one of our CSRs was to send in emails. And we had about below 1% of customers actually use the email, the dedicated email that we had, which is actually more than we anticipated. Originally, we were only thinking based off of some of the other Powr utility pilots that we're going to maybe get less than about 30, 40 emails. So even getting about 200 was incredible. 45% of those were positive, 19% focusing on technical assistance, making sure they follow up on the, once they create their login and user ID, they have to actually click on a verification email, following through on those pieces for getting their password. We had about 13% want to opt in, and that was based off some of the positive media that I'll talk about in a second. And that was really inspiring that, you had a lot of people actually calling in about that or emailing trying to opt in. And about 9% wanted to know more about energy efficiency programs. A lot of them are the ones that had like the true technical questions. They're putting in a new boiler. They're looking at this, SEER rating, energy efficiency rating, and they really wanted to ask questions of the energy efficiency experts. And this is where we wanted to just note that this was another key customer experience practice that our management really enforced was having the program managers. I'm only the co-pilot. Rick Mascoli at CL&P, he's the other co-pilot of this behavior pilot. We responded, both of us, to all email inquiries, and we followed up with personal calls to address any concerns. And we got a lot of shock, if a customer gave us their phone number and just said, I'm upset, we actually followed up with that phone call to talk to them, and sometimes they just wanted to opt out, and but they really appreciated the fact that they had a personal touch and actually had someone follow up. They're used to sending emails to corporations and not really hearing anything back, and they really appreciated at least the feedback and the responses we gave to them, and we were able to address a lot of concerns and refer them to some of our rebates and programs that they would never have heard of if they had if they hadn't reached out to us. So we really made some of the negative emails, we actually made them positive by reaching out to those customers as well. So opt-outs, it's an opt-out program. The opt-outs are the industry norm. Our opt-out rate is exactly 1%. We had 240 customers ask not to be part of the program. The Powr average is about 0.25% to 2.5%. So we're right there in the middle. Even though it's at 1%, that was something that in year one we really wanted to make sure that we dropped that rate down for year two. And as part of that, we actually reached out and did some more training with our CSRs right before the launch of year two to reinforce why we were doing the pilot, how customers could benefit, and really engaging those CSRs with some interactive games. We led a Jeopardy-like training program for the CSRs, and we can make that available to anybody if they want to use that in their training. Which just made it fun and really made them remember here's who the neighbors are, here's how we compare them, and just made them really fully prepped to answer any questions that a customer had. You'll notice about 44% did not give out opt-out reasons, and that can be simply because you can just select online to just click opt out, and you don't have to offer up a reason to opt out as well. And then other customers didn't want to talk to the CSR, they just wanted to opt out. We are trying to push in year two is just trying to get a little bit more feedback, so whether or not it's they're concerned about privacy or just if they think it's a waste of paper, we're making sure that those customers realize that we can just sign them up for email reports. We don't have to send printed reports to them if that's really their concern. Really just trying to track it so we can understand why they're opting out as well. So that's one thing that, looking back prospectively, we wish we could have captured that type of information. So, one of the other success criteria we looked at was designing the pilot to test uplift in some of our other energy efficiency programs. In Connecticut, we have a great in-home services program called Home Energy Solutions, where they not only come out and take a look at your home and rank it as far as energy efficiency-wise, but they actually install and perform in-home services on the spot there. So installing 40 compact fluorescent light bulbs. We do weather stripping, caulking, and also performing the blower door test, as you can see in the image there. And we really felt that this was important to, maybe get a leg up on your neighbors is by having this home energy solutions assessment and services that, you can start improving on your ranking and move up from, say, 65 to 40 as well. And we did see an increase. About 2.5% of our pilot customers did enroll in other energy efficiency programs. And I'm just here. I'm showing our Home Energy Solutions program, which you can see there was a significant uplift in participation right at the launch of the program, right around March and April. And I also have shown there in the dark blue our Home Energy Solutions Income Eligible program, which is free. And so it's anybody who is 60% below the state median income here in Connecticut actually qualifies for those same services that I referenced for Home Energy Solutions. But they get all those as well as insulation and appliances for free too. So, we were definitely proud of that. As you can see, right there in November and December, and into January, we ran a couple of promotional modules for the Home Energy Solutions program on customer reports. And you can see a slight increase there, once again, in the Home Energy Solutions portfolio of programs as well, right there in the winter months, which definitely helps our electric heat customers who are, definitely, once you turn on that switch in December right after the Thanksgiving holidays, noticing that uptick on your electric bill as well. So some of the energy conservation measures that we noted, they've really focused in on phantom power conservation measures, turning off the lights when not needed, turning off the computers at night, using the computer power saving modes. These are just simple, easy tasks that, I know every energy efficiency utility administrator goes out there and says all these tips again and again. But these are the actions that people took, and they're easy. Washing clothes with cold water, especially with cold water detergent these days. Adjusting your thermostat before leaving your house. I did that this morning. Making sure that both thermostats upstairs and downstairs were turned appropriatly. Opening up the shades on winter days, letting the light in, but also letting some of that warmth in a little bit as well. And this is really important because at all of our presentations that we do where we talk to customers face-to-face, a lot of the feedback is always, I can't afford to buy this expensive energy-efficient equipment. Or, I took advantage and I wanted to use the refrigerator, but what's something I can do like right now? And these are all tips that customers can take without having to go out to a store and purchase items. We did have great positive media for the pilot launch, and also for the second year as well. We also had we had 6 very positive articles with about 50+ tweets. It was actually one of the first times we used our Twitter account was to help with this launch of the program. This definitely generated a lot of opt-in interest, as I referenced before. And, they recognized a lot of our customer experience departments and, just for offering this type of program. If you see here Hartford Current, one of our randomly selected customers actually happened to be the customer reporter for the Hartford Current, and she was ranked 100 out of 100. So she wasn't the #1 energy efficiency person in her neighbor group. And so she actually did a whole story on what CL&P had to offer to customers, ranging all the way from having her meter tested to make sure that it was accurate, which it was, having one of our CSRs. We have energy customer service reps that actually come out to the home and take a look at how you're using electricity and see if there's just something a little off. And we actually had an energy CSR go out to the reporter's home, and we discovered that she was using a lot of electricity down in her basement. She had her dehumidifier right next to her sump pump, and it was running 24/7, 365 days a year, that dehumidifier, because it was constantly surrounded by moisture. So by just moving the dehumidifier to the other side of the basement, she was actually able to reduce her electric usage notably just by making that one small move. And then she also, just talking to me as well, I was one of the test users, and she was all upset because she was ranked low, and I told her, look, I got my first report and I was ranked 67, and this is what I do for a living. So I said, the report, wasn't exactly I didn't get a smiley face on my first couple of reports either. So it, helped me walk around and do an energy audit of my home. I had just moved into a new home as well, and that's when I discovered that all the bulbs that I thought were compact fluorescent light bulbs were actually incandescent. So I was actually able to go through and change all those out and reduce my electric usage, but also improve my neighbor score as well. So for our Home Energy Reports pilot, we were able to achieve significant energy savings, create a positive customer experience, track our customer actions, resulting in energy consumption change. We were able to promote high participation in our other energy efficiency portfolio programs and generate positive media. And I just added this last slide, which wasn't part of the CS Week conference, just to kind of show you how we set up For year 2, we actually we have 17,000 customers receiving reports, which is a little less than for year 1. We retained 7,000 customers who received the monthly reports from year 1. We want to just continue to see how they react to receiving the reports. We also added 10,000 additional customers, and their average annual use is 5,000 to 12,000 kilowatt hours, and they're receiving monthly reports as well. And we wanted to make sure that we captured this population because this is our normal customer usage is between 5,000 and 12,000 kilowatt hours. And we wanted to be able to take the results from this pilot and extrapolate it across our entire residential base as well. So this is a very important part of year 2 is studying these 10,000 customers. We also added the 3,000 customers who used to receive monthly reports to our persistence group to see if they, by chance continue to save energy even though they've stopped receiving reports. And we've maintained our control group as well. We have added in year 2 a single sign-on component. So when customers log in to pay their bills on the CL&P website, they're also, within the next 3 weeks, they're going to be able to log on directly onto the Home Energy Reports website as well. And vice versa, if they log on to Home Energy Reports, they can log back onto their CL&P account as well. And we really felt that this was important to encourage more customers to visit the website, and we think it's going to be successful just as much as the sending out the emails to our customers as well. We are going to be hosting about 1 or 2 promotional modules that are going to be on the printed reports, really encouraging customers to go online to check out their profiles, to make sure that their square footage, heating type are accurate, and also setting up an energy commitment as well. And we are going to be issuing an engagement postcard, as I said before, once again, to try to get customers to go online and create an account. And we're going to be running several Home Energy Solutions program modules as well to try to encourage those customers who haven't to take advantage of that great service. And with that, you can probably move to Q&A.
All right, real good. So attendees, now is your chance to ask a question or multiple questions. As I stated at the start of the session, you can type your questions into the Q&A box in the bottom right corner of your screen. We have had questions coming in during the session, so we're going to get started with those right away. And also, I'll remind you again what I stated earlier, is that this session is being recorded today for replay, so you or your colleagues can go back to our website at any time and listen to this webinar again. So the first question, Rebecca, which came in at 17 minutes after, actually, so fairly early in the session, and this person asks, when comparing to your neighbors, how was the confidential privacy policy addressed when customers asked who were they compared to?
Okay, and really what on our CSR tools, we can't actually tell them which neighbors are, which other customers are their neighbors. We just have a general sense of who they are and like what streets. So never at any point do we say, Rebecca Meyer across the street is one of the people in your group. So we never give that type of information away. So it's only getting compared to 99 other households that are similar, but they never know exactly which homes on their street or even, just right around on a corner street are in their neighboring group as well. Unless, of course, somebody references it at a neighborhood block party and, you kind of figure out that, some of your neighbors are receiving those reports as well. But we never actually tell them which customers are in their neighboring group as well. So that's how we maintain that privacy policy. But that's the number one question is people think that we're telling people that, Rebecca Meyer is using way more electricity than you are, so you should feel good about it. So, we definitely hear a lot from customers, and it's really just explaining it in the welcome letter. We always send out explaining that we don't do that, and then also having the CSRs prepped as well to try to explain to them who their neighbors are.
Very good. The second question came in at 25 minutes after Rebecca, and the person asked, can we look at a customer's report in detail to see what it all is included in the report that they receive?
Yes, I can actually, I can email that to CS Week if somebody wants to see it. I can actually send one of my reports so you can see, what exactly is on the front and on the back. It's a two-sided, just a two-page report. Very simply with your neighbor comparison usually on the front, a historical chart showing your energy consumption over the past year, and then on the back, usually that's where the tips are, and then also your neighbor ranking, showing that historical neighbor ranking over the past year as well.
All right. Well, if you'll send that through to us, Rebecca, we'll send this to the person who asked the question, and if there's others of you that would like to see that, just send us an email. Most of you probably know that Lisa Collins coordinates this, and she can get that report back to you. So then our third one actually came in 1 minute later than that. This person asked at 1:26, can customers change their profile online?
Yes, and we actually had a number of customers go ahead and do that. So once you create the web account, they can go online and answer. We try to keep it simple because if you do a true energy audit online or ask them too many questions, people aren't going to finish filling out the profile. So, but yeah, they can change their square footage, number of occupants, dwelling types as well. If we inaccurately have somebody down as an apartment and they're actually a single family home, they can change that too. And usually that won't immediately change their neighbor ranking. That usually takes at least one cycle to put them into a new neighbor comparison group as well. But and that's usually the number one thing is I changed my profile, so why hasn't my neighbor ranking changed yet? And it usually takes at least a month or maybe two, depending on when they change their profile, to have that updated in the system.
Very good. So a little while later, this person asked, for the home audits, did you all have a group that went in and performed the work of caulking, changing bulbs, etc., or were the improvements needed given to a customer and the changes to be done at their cost, obviously probably through a third party?
Yep, we actually have, through our Home Energy Solutions program, we have about 30 contractors or community action agencies that can provide those services, and they are all third party. All of them have Building Performance Institute BPI certified auditor with each crew that goes out to a customer's home, and they not only do the assessment, but they perform the services on site, and then at the end, they do the basic core services program. If they find additional ways to save energy, such as putting in more insulation, putting in a new HVAC system, etc., they actually fill out rebates on the spot for them that they can take advantage of within 90 to 120 days to further save more energy. And the customer can choose to either re-engage the vendor that came out to do their core services, the Home Energy Solutions program, or they can choose to take those rebates and use a different contractor too. So that's one thing that we've discovered with our Home Energy Solutions program is that customers like to find out how they can save more energy, but they don't like to feel that they're forced to have to take advantage of it, immediately, putting in new insulation, because that can be a $2,000 project that you weren't anticipating at the beginning of the day. So, so it is definitely a third party that provides those services as well. And CL&P and the other electric and natural gas utilities in the state of Connecticut, we administer, we develop all the rebates and in that program, but we have the third party contractors perform the services.
So they bill the customer, and then the rebates, it's up to the customer whether they file them or the third-party contractor.
Right. Actually, Home Energy Solutions program, that's a $75 fee, but they get about $700 to $1,000 in services, so that's immediately due on the spot. All the rebates, it's up to them, yes, to take advantage of those further rebates.
Okay, very good then, Rebecca. The next question. Do you have any insight into language that has worked in the emails to get attention and not get lost in inbox/spam folder?
You know, definitely just the CL&P home energy reports pilot in the subject line. You know, it does appear to come from a CL&P you know, email account as well. So I think that we don't get as much spam because a lot of people have you know, CL&P email set up because they've already established their email with the company in order to do online billing. So we haven't had as much of an issue with that as I know some companies have had to, you know, go out and try to purchase some of their customers' email information. So the fact that we're already a trusted email from these customers, we don't have too many issues with the spam. Whether or not it gets their attention, you know, we do have a lot of click-throughs, but, you know, it can just be like any other email for the day. I mean, I get about 5 emails from Groupon every morning. You know, I may click on 1 or 2, and I may just decide to delete that day. So I think some of the emails, you know, we always try to make sure that that neighbor comparison is up on the top of the email. That usually grabs their attention, especially if they've improved. But, you know, definitely getting their attention or not, you know, I think it just depends on the customer and their mood at that moment when they look at the email. But I think the neighbor comparison is definitely huge. If they're ranking high, they usually like to click on everything and see, you know, maybe gloat a little bit or cheer themselves on for having improved. I know I do when I've moved up in my ranking.
Kind of human nature, isn't it? One other question, and attendees, we'll close out pretty quick here. We want to be conscientious of your calendar today. But Rebecca, as far as either improvements or lessons learned, anything that you want to comment on today as far as improving what you started or lessons learned from what you did?
Yeah, I think definitely having a trained CSR group is very important. I think that's the reason why our customers were positively engaged in the program, and also why our opt-out rate was low is because of our incredible, dedicated CSR team that not only fields questions on this pilot, but at the same time, over the last 15 months, has been fielding 3 different storm calls as well. So yeah, I think that's a very valuable piece, especially for this group for CS Week. It's just having that great CSR team. I think the training that was part of our lessons learned was really helping those CSRs have the tools and understand some of the nuances of the program, and especially our energy efficiency programs, so that they can further elaborate on how they can save energy right there, because no one wants to have to be transferred to an expert, to explain an HVAC rebate or how to sign up for the Home Energy Solutions program. So we felt that it was important. Having the first person they talk to be able to answer as much as possible was very important as well. And I think one of the biggest pieces we kind of wish we had was that single sign-on. That was a part of our lessons learned from year 1, 6 months in, and being able to bring that to fruition in the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to see a huge increase in just customer engagement, just from the just how easy it will be to go on the site. You don't have to try to find that printed report that came in the mail 2 weeks ago, or try to remember that website. It's going to just be a direct link from your online billing account through CL&P. So I think that's going to be a huge improvement as well, without too much burden on us as program administrators to try to get them to go online.
Exactly. So attendees, I think we're going to wrap up here. I want to first of all say thanks a bunch, Rebecca, for being with us today and bringing this material to us as to what you've done with these programs. And of course, attendees, Rebecca had to go through both Hurricane Sandy and then the nor'easter snowstorm, and so we're very fortunate that she's here with us today. Attendees, thank you for your participation in today's webinar. As a reminder, we'll be with you again next month on the 2nd Tuesday. And on that point, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. Thank you.